Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite a stack of your sources here today, ready to jump in.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So our mission today is to really dig into something that's, well, fundamentally changing how businesses make decisions. We're talking about predictive analytics.
Absolutely. And we're using a great piece as our guide, an article from Techshift back in March 2025 called How Predictive Analytics is Revolutionizing Business Decisions.
Right. So think of this as our roadmap. We want to unpack what predictive analytics really is, why it's making such waves, now, and pull out the key things you should take away from this source.
And the article sets the stage perfectly. It argues that business is moving away from sort of gut feelings and just looking back.
Yeah, historical reports.
Exactly. And moving towards becoming much more of a data-powered science. Predictive analytics is really the engine behind that shift.
Okay, so let's talk about that core idea the article highlights. Moving from hindsight to foresight. The old way was looking backward, wasn't it?
Totally. You'd get reports, what happened last quarter, how were sales. It was all analysis of the past.
Reacting, basically. Often mixed with a bit of intuition from leadership, I suppose.
Precisely. Driving while looking, mostly in the rearview mirror.
But predictive analytics flips that script. It uses, what? Algorithms, stats, machine learning.
All of the above. To forecast what's likely to happen, it's asking, okay, based on everything we know, what's probably coming next?
And crucially, what should we do about it?
That's the key part. It allows organizations to be proactive, not just reactive.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a small tweak. It fundamentally changes the speed and quality of decisions.
Faster, better decisions.
Right. And it does this by pulling data from, well, everywhere. Your databases, sure, but also IoT sensors, social media feeds, you name it, looking for those hidden patterns.
Patterns you just wouldn't see otherwise. And finding those patterns lets you anticipate things. So, okay, why is this shift so important now? The article lists some really compelling benefits.
It does. A big one is just making smarter, faster decisions, acting on insights almost as they happen, instead of waiting weeks for a report.
That seems huge, like getting ahead of problems.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Which leads right into risk mitigation and prevention. Think about fraud detection. The article mentions PayPal using this to flag dodgy transactions in real time.
Saving millions, I bet, and maintaining trust.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or predicting customer churn, figuring out who might leave before they actually do, so you can try to keep them. Spotting those early warnings is critical.
And does this hit the bottom line? Operational efficiency?
Oh, definitely. Operational efficiency and cost control. The article uses Walmart as a great example. They predict demand for specific products in specific stores.
Wow, that granular.
Yeah, factoring in local events, weather, buying patterns. It cuts down on having too much stock, or worse, not enough. Less waste, more sales. It directly impacts costs.
I can see that. And it impacts the customer side too, right? Personalization.
Big time. Personalized customer experiences. We all see this with, like, Amazon's recommendations or Netflix suggestions.
Right, you might also like.
Exactly. That's predictive analytics, looking at your behavior to guess what you'll want next. Keeps you engaged, keeps you coming back. It's key for retention.
And beyond the day-to-day stuff, strategic planning.
Absolutely vital for strategic planning and forecasting. Modeling market trends, what competitors might do, future demand. It helps leaders make those big long-term bets with more confidence, looking around corners, essentially.
That makes sense. And the article also mentions something about alignment, getting everyone on the same page.
Yeah, alignment and collaboration. When sales, marketing, operations, HR, when they're all working off the same data-driven forecast about what's likely coming.
Less arguing, more coordination.
You got it. It creates a single source of truth, a shared view of the future, which ultimately, when you put it all together, gives you a real competitive advantage. You can spot trends faster, pivot quicker.
Okay, it sounds incredibly powerful. But how does a company actually do this? The article lays out a process, right? 5 steps.
Yeah, it's a 5-step process. And step 1 is absolutely crucial, though sometimes overlooked. Define the business problem. You have to be crystal clear on what decision you're trying to improve. What's the goal?
Can't hit a target you haven't defined. Makes sense. Step 2 sounds like the hard part.
It often is. Gather and clean data. The article really hammers this home. Data quality is paramount. Garbage in, garbage out, truly.
So pulling it all together, fixing errors, inconsistencies.
All of that, standardizing it. Because if your data foundation is shaky, your predictions won't be reliable.
Okay, data's clean. Step 3, building the model.
Exactly. Build and test models. This is where you choose the right statistical or machine learning techniques. And a critical piece here, stressed in the article, is splitting your data.
Splitting it? How?
Yeah. Into training, validation, and test sets. Think of it like this. Training data is for practice problems. Validation is like a quiz to check your method. And the test set is the final exam on stuff you've never seen.
Ah, so the model doesn't just memorize the answers.
Precisely. It prevents overfitting, where the model is great on the data it saw, but useless on new data. You need it to generalize.
Got it. So model built and tested. Step 4, deploy and monitor.
Yep. Get the model into the real world, into your workflows. Maybe it's automated, maybe it feeds a dashboard for people, and this is key, you can't just set it and forget it.
Why not?
Because things change. Customer behavior shifts, markets evolve. You need constant monitoring to make sure it's still accurate, which leads directly to step 5. Act on insights.
Right, the prediction itself doesn't do anything.
Exactly. You have to use the prediction, adjust inventory, launch that campaign, schedule maintenance, whatever the insight points to. The action is the whole point.
It sounds like a solid process, but I imagine there are bumps in the road. The article mentions challenges.
Oh, definitely. And maybe the biggest one is still data silos and quality issues. Data scattered everywhere, inconsistent, incomplete. It undermines everything.
Building on that shaky foundation again.
Exactly. Then there's stakeholder alignment. Getting the business leaders and the data teams truly on the same page about what matters most. That can be surprisingly tough.
Different priorities, different languages almost.
Sorta, yeah. And even if you build a technically brilliant model, user adoption can be a hurdle. If the people who need the insight, sales reps, managers can't easily understand or use them.
They'll just go back to the old way.
Right, so you need user-friendly tools, clear communication. And like we said, model maintenance is ongoing. It's not a one-and-done project. Models need updates to stay relevant.
Okay, lots of potential pitfalls. But the article offers ways around them, best practices.
It does. First, tackle that alignment issue head-on. Start with clear objectives tied directly to business goals.
Makes sense. And the data problem.
Prioritize data quality. Invest in cleaning, integration, governance before you get too deep into modeling.
Good advice. What else?
Pilot before scaling. Start small, test your approach, prove the value in a controlled way before you try to roll it out everywhere.
Learn before you leap.
Exactly. And foster collaboration. Actively build bridges between the tech teams and the business units. Get them talking the same language.
And that monitoring point comes back.
Yes, build feedback loops. This is critical. Track prediction accuracy, track the results of actions, feed it all back to improve the models.
Emphasize actionability too, right? Make it usable.
Absolutely. Translate complex stats into clear, actionable guidance for the non-experts who need it.
And finally, you need the right resources.
Invest in talent and tools. The right platforms, the right skills. You can't do this on the cheap.
You mentioned that feedback loop is crucial, something the article really highlights.
Yeah, it calls it a crucial, often overlooked element.
Why overlooked? It seems logical.
It does, but building that continuous loop takes effort and discipline. Without it, your model just gets stale. Conditions change, data drifts, and the predictions become less accurate over time.
So the loop keeps it fresh, keeps it learning.
Precisely. It's the mechanism for continuous improvement. Predict, act. Measure the outcome, feed that outcome back into the model. It helps the model adapt.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The article mentions manufacturing supply chains. A model predicts delivery time. The company acts on it. Then they measure the actual delivery time. If there's a difference, that real-world data gets fed back. The model learns, maybe recalibrates based on new traffic patterns or supplier delays, and gets better for the next prediction.
So it's not static, it's dynamic, it gets smarter as you use it.
Exactly. It turns predictive analytics from just a forecast into an engine that actively drives optimization and adapts to reality.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up. This deep dive, guided by your source, has taken us from the basic idea that shift from hindsight to foresight.
Yeah, moving from reacting to predicting and acting.
Through the benefits, like faster decisions, risk reduction, efficiency.
Yeah.
We saw real-world examples.
Walmart, PayPal, Netflix.
We broke down the 5 steps to actually do it, face the challenges like data silos and user adoption.
And looked at best practices to overcome them, like starting clear, focusing on data, piloting first.
And landed on that vital feedback loop that keeps the whole thing learning and improving.
The core takeaway from the source seems pretty clear. This isn't just tech for tech's sake. It's fundamentally reshaping how businesses operate and compete.
And the article leaves us and you listening with a really pointed question, doesn't it?
It does. It asks, if your organization's most critical decision had to be made tomorrow, Would you trust your intuition or your predictive analytics models to guide the way?
Hmm. That's definitely something to chew on. It makes you think about how much we rely on gut versus data, especially as these tools get more powerful.
It's a reflection of where things are headed, for sure. Becoming more data-driven isn't just about efficiency anymore. It's about agility, strategy, and staying ahead.
Well, this has been fascinating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.